Okay, welcome back to King's Quest VI. Let's continue on with our journey. Alright, we have most of the things from this island, I believe.
Alexander shakes the bottle and imagines he hears a faint swishing sound, but decides he is mistaken.
Let's try using this bottle.
Alexander decides to open the empty ink bottle.
It's stuck. It's... Whoa! The ink bottle isn't empty at all. It's full of invisible ink.
Huh?
Not very strong, but not bad.
Dumb. I have a lot of nostalgia for the King's Quest series, but I don't think it's very good. I mean, granted, there weren't many games back in the day, so it's not like it's their fault. It's just it doesn't hold up very well by today's standards, which is kind of sad. But it is a classic, so
There's no reason to...
it is.
Alexander reads the love poem.
It is worth playing.
What was it? What?
Let's use the map.
Alexander pulls out his magic map.
Alright, we're gonna go to the Sacred Isle, Sacred Mountain.
Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. Alexander notices an unusually large coal-black feather lying on the beach. There appears to be no way past the cliffs. Though roughly hewn, the cliffs do not provide regular handholds for climbing, and they seem otherwise impenetrable. There appears to be something etched into the face of the cliff. Alexander decides to get closer.
Ignorance kills, wisdom elevates.
The rock has been etched by some unknown hand. One may need to read about the Logic Cliffs in the guidebook to the Land of the Green Isles in order to understand this mystical inscription.
One may need to.
The granite cliffs cannot be scaled by hand. There's an ugly flower growing near the base of the cliff. Alexander picks the flower and is startled by its hideously strong skunk-like odor. The feather does not respond. The sound of Alexander's voice doesn't seem to have any effect on the cliff etchings.
It amazes me they recorded all this dialogue. All
The
these dumb
currents
options.
continue to murmur, but they do not reply to Alexander.
There's so many ridiculous things you can do.
Alexander takes the feather.
Alright. Now let's go.
Alexander pulls out his magic map.
To the Isle of Wonder.
Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. Alexander wades into the sea to get the strange object in the water. The ocean currents tug at Alexander's legs. That object is just a bit out of reach. A group of small boulders are pleasantly arranged near the oyster beds. One of the oysters is sitting up in bed and doesn't look very happy. He seems to be the only one who can't sleep. In the oyster's mouth, Alexander can see a glint of white.
Why aren't you asleep like the other oysters?
Oh, I'm so weary, but I can't sleep. I have a terrible ache in my mouth.
What's wrong with your mouth?
No offense, but it hurts too much to talk.
If you're having trouble sleeping, perhaps you'd like me to read to you.
Hey, that would be great!
Two dulcimers raised to the degree of 40 half-dulcimers, divided into equal parts by the third of a cackle of grouse geese, put over the result of 10 fine mackles, albeit small fine mackles, stretched over the total of 53 and an eighth bottles of wild beast lard, yields a gilded minnow of precise measurements, 2,069 centidrills by 3,023 and 6/7 puns, not punts, as might be expected. This is not to say, however, in any sense whatsoever, that deviations in mean temperature of 5 or 6 dregs or so indicate a fabrication
It's so
or
fast.
derivation sufficiently broad enough to exacerbate the conclusions uncovered in due course with regards to the dimensions
Hey! You fixed my mouth! It feels great!
Ah, the little oyster drifts into peaceful slumber with the rest of his oyster friends.
Hooray.
Alexander hears someone coming.
"5 fierce guards of the isle we be. Watch for a foreign man," said he, "with ears and nose, tongue, hands, and eyes. Its nature cannot be disguised. If man it be, then man it dies." Old Tom Trow, smell your smell. Do that which you do so well.
Alexander holds the flower of stench out to the gnome with the jumbo nose.
Tom Trow I am, that's all I'll... Listen.
Uh-oh. I'll have the nightingale. And the flute. I don't think that's gonna work.
Alexander plays the flute for the gnome with the huge ears.
A flute, it's true, is a harmless thing, but the man who blows it, there's the sting. A man, so say our ears, we shall send him to his beer.
I like how they just murder you. That's the weird thing about King's Quest. It's like they just have lots of death states. You gotta save a lot. It's really silly.
The gnomes toss Alexander too far out into the sea for him to get his footing. The currents drag him under. Tickets up. Next. Guess those gnomes couldn't reach a consensus.
Oh, the puns. So funny.
There's no reason that Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Let's go back and get the nightingale.
Good day. It's point. The flute feels.
Would you mind if I...
Of course. Alexander looked
That mechanic...
very.
Thank...
I like you can just trade any item for any item. No cost.
Alexander pulls out his magic. Alexander. Alexander here.
Doo-doo-doo-doo. I remember this scene from when I was a kid. Long time ago. Must have played this. I don't know how old I was.
Alexander holds the flower of stench out to the gnome with the jumbo nose.
Tom Trow I am, that's all I'll be. My nose knows all on land and sea. A flower of stench has washed ashore. A flower 'tis all, and nothing more. Listen, hark you, Grovenor, do your duty as you swore. With your ears, please tell us more.
Alexander winds the tin nightingale and plays it for the gnome with the monumental ears.
A nose is not a way to spy. My ears cannot be told a lie. A nightingale is all there be. No man is near, and so say me. Taste, Grump, that we might know whether friend or whether foe.
The small green mint looks very...
I like how all of them can't see
Alexander
except one
holds
of
the
them.
mint out for the gnome with the gigantic mouth.
Grump knows a tasty treat. It matters not what others bleat. No danger is this one so sweet.
Trilly dilly, use your hands. Is it beast or is it man?
Alexander holds the rabbit foot out for the gnome with the huge hands.
I like how he has gloves and he takes them off.
Be all you mad? What aileth thee? A bunny can't trill merrily. A hare does not at all taste sweet. A rabbit here is all we greet.
Old Bill Batter, never fatter. Vision can resolve this matter. Look you now and end this chatter.
Alexander pours the contents of the empty-looking ink bottle over himself.
By all that's beauteous, fair, and sightly, 4 morons do I sleep with nightly. There's nothing there at all, I say. Enough of this. Let's now away.
He keeps his eyes closed until like the very second. Ridiculous.
Alexander did it! He's fooled the guards! Alexander picks up the object floating in the water. It appears to be a string of letters. They say, "Where are you going?" Alexander decides to keep the odd sentence, even though it is incomplete.
What do you think you're doing?
I'm sorry. I didn't realize these books had an owner. I'm in need of a rare book.
No owner? All books have owners, my good man. And this book owner, Bookworm to you, wouldn't part with one of his books for anything.
Isn't there something I can do for you to pay for the book?
Let's see. Do you have an itinerant clause?
No. No clauses at all, I'm afraid.
As an exception, you always should.
Don't mind oxymoron and diphthong. They're fairly limited grammatical principles, you know. Let's see. A marsh pig that does Texas?
No. I'm afraid not.
A dangling participle?
I'm fresh out.
A purple fiddle whacker?
No, I don't think so. Sorry.
An idiosyncrasy, perhaps?
Afraid not.
Ha! Then what good are you?
Look at these spelling bees.
Little bees buzz around the books as though the pages were laden with the sweetest pollen. Maybe they're spelling bees.
Oh, it's so funny.
There's no reason to use that. Alexander sees no use.
Do you have...
A regular abnormal.
I have a sentence. Would that do?
An incomplete one, I suppose.
Why, actually, it is incomplete.
Just as I suspected, incomplete sentences are a dime a dozen. Why, you can literally just find them floating about. Complete sentences. Ooh, now there's something that's hard to come by these days.
I see. Sorry.
Ridiculous. This whole game is ridiculous.
Alexander investigates the intricate spider's web in the corner. The spider who lives there is not amused. Alexander feels the tiny pinprick of the spider's bite and the slow burning of her poison.
Tickets up. Next.
Why do you think they call her a widow?
Oh, a widow.
Wow. Hiya, gorgeous. Oh, what a luscious-looking hunk of flesh you are.
Thank you, I guess. Who are you?
How charming of you to pretend not to know. I'm Black Widow, of course. The femme fatale of all femme fatales. Know what I mean? You know, I was just thinking it was time I found my 50th, another husband. It would be quite a horror. I mean, an honor to have me as a bride. Just look at my beautiful weaving. It's so light, so delicate. You'll never want to leave my little nest.
It is a lovely web, but my heart is elsewhere, I'm afraid.
Oh, drat! I mean, the loss is yours. I'm sure you'll change your mind once you consider the advantages.
Hey, don't touch that thread!
Alexander snatches the scrap of parchment, curious to see what's written on it.
Love.
The wind blows the scrap of paper from Alexander's hand, but he remembers what it said well enough.
Come on, walk off the screen. I love the sound effects here. Looks super ridiculous.
Alexander takes a bottle of milk from the milkweed bush. Apparently, the dogwood tree doesn't like Alexander standing that close. A large tree stretches knotted limbs out over the swamp. Part of the tree's trunk is shaped like the face of a dog. Why, it must be a dogwood tree.
My dear tree, is it true that your bark is worse than your bite?
So funny.
Vines of sweet ripening tomatoes climb up little wooden posts.
Hey, what do you think you're doing there? Get your hands off me! Hey!
Alexander picks up rotten tomato and puts him away. One never knows when one will need a rotten tomato. Those tomatoes are not quite ripe yet, and Alexander shouldn't pull them off the vine. Is that lettuce growing in the garden? It looks a little chilled. Why, it must be iceberg lettuce. Alexander picks a head of iceberg lettuce.
Ye gads! Is that cold?
The wallflowers look terribly shy. A colorful array of snapdragons stand guard to one side of the path. There appears to be a hole in the garden wall. Wow, it really is a hole in the wall. Zounds, those wallflowers sure are shy, and the snapdragons are awfully protective of them. Alexander can't even get close to the wallflowers without causing quite a stir. Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. there's an odd little creature dangling from that tree branch. A little fawn is feeding on a grassy hillock near the sea. The fawn is too busy eating to pay attention to Alexander.
Hello, friend. Aren't you an odd-looking little fellow?
I'm not odd-looking, you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you could speak.
Speak not. Funny is, speech I am and nothing but.
You speak strangely, friend.
Strange, my speech is not. Eloquence I speak with.
But who are you? And why are you here?
Away I fly my home from. Lost I am, therefore. As my name too, can you guess not? It's what I do this branch with, and the way I speak of.
If you're lost, perhaps I can take you home.
Take me home too? Think not I do. Know you I do not.
Alexander holds the sentence out to the creature.
This sentence seems in need of an ending. Perhaps you could finish it?
Where are you going? Where are you going? Know what I do? Where are you going to? Like you I do. Go I with you?
Well, that was certainly interesting. It looks like Alexander now has a passenger. Alexander decides to brave the boiling pond.
No.
And soon realizes a deep sympathy for soup vegetables as he learns the true meaning of being in a stew.
Tickets up. Next.
It looks like Alexander's in a bit of a stew. Alexander is carrying a full head of a queer-looking lettuce made of ice. The lettuce is rapidly melting. Hoping to cool down the boiling pond, Alexander throws in a head of iceberg lettuce. The pond's water slowly stops boiling, cooled by the ice. It still looks hot, but bearable. Alexander...
Ouch! Ow! Ooh, 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 ouch!
The pond is no longer boiling, but it's hardly bathwater. An old abandoned hunter's lamp is hanging on one of the trees. Alexander wonders who might have hunted in these dense woods. There is no reply. Alexander takes the old hunter's lamp from the tree. As Alexander continues down the path, he gets the strange feeling that he's being watched.
Come on over here and see what I'm doing with these flowers. Never mind that stone fella on top of the gate. He won't hurt you any. He's just there to scare you.
Sure, fella. Oh, God.
Gotcha this time.
Tickets up. Next.
That move was slightly erroneous.
Oh, the puns.
A brick lies in the grass. It must have come from the old brick wall.
I'm Alexander of Daventry. Who are you?
What difference does it make? Just come on over here. I'll tell you my life history if you still want to hear it.
Tell me.
If it's conversation you want...
Tell me.
If it's conversation you want, just come on over here. I'll talk your ears off if we can sit down and talk face to face.
He's so mean. Don't go that way. No. I was trying to go over here.
Gotcha this time.
Alexander picks...
Chuck the brick at his
Perhaps
head.
you'd find this interesting.
Sure, bring it on over to this side of the wall where I can see it better.
He's so mean.
You want...
That's odd. The gardener just disappeared.
I guess that's the genie trying to fake you out and trick you. It's the same genie that we saw before near the docks.
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Do you have anything interesting yet? Falling arches, perhaps?
Let me see what I have.
One end of the creature resembles a miniature dragon, while the other looks like a possum. What a strange-looking fellow.
Take me home to...
You're ugly and you smell bad. Yeah, put me down before I juice all over you. I got a lawyer, you know. Yeah, there's kidnapping laws in this here kingdom. What do you want from me? A recitation or something? Leave me alone. Yeah. You're ugly and you smell bad.
Take me home to... Take me home to... Take me home to...
I found this little fellow lost on another island.
Coming home I am too.
There you are, you naughty boy. I told you not to leave the island.
Glad I am seeing you too.
A most solemn celebration.
So, you found my dangling participle. I suppose I'll have to give you something. Let's see now. Was it a rare book you wanted?
Yes, sir.
Well, then none of these will do. They've been sitting in the sun far too long and must be well cooked by now. This one is far more rare. A delicious little tidbit.
Thanks.
Alexander is carrying a rare book from the bookworm. The words in the binding are very faint. The something riddle book. Alexander opens the rare book and looks inside. The book contains riddles and has a page missing. Alexander glances at a few of the conundrums, but finds himself more curious about the one that is missing. What was the riddle, he wonders? More importantly, what was the answer? Alexander pulls out his... Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Okay, we made some progress. I think that's a good stopping point for the episode. We'll be back next time with more King's Quest 6. Thanks for watching.